Hi everyone, welcome to today's blog post. What we're going to be looking at today is getting the current time, but also getting the number of seconds. What we found is that in the common property in SharePoint called current time, you only get the hour and the minute. And in the item properties like created and modified, both of those are datetime properties. Again, they only give you the hour and the minute, not the seconds. So how do you get the current seconds? Well, what we'll do is in an in-text workflow, the first thing I'm doing is I've got this log action and I'm logging the common time. So that's the property called current time. Also the item created and item modified. So these properties there are simply added by clicking on the insert reference button, and under the common tab over here, you'll see the current time. And then under the item properties, you'll have your created and your modified properties. So if I run that workflow, what you'll see is three things that are logged. You'll see the common time, again, missing the seconds. The item created and modified are actually date time fields, so you also get the date component, but again, you're missing the seconds. So what we want to do is we want to be able to figure out how to get the current seconds. Now, this is where you start having to think outside the box. An in-text workflow has a whole bunch of actions, but not all of the actions have to be used for what they're basically intended for. The best one to talk about is the execute SQL action. Now, this is an action that will query a database, and it can either query for data from a table, or update or insert items into a table, even run stored procedures, and do all sorts of cool stuff that way. But the thing is that SQL actually exposes a whole bunch of functions that are already available, and one of those is called current timestamp. So what you can actually do is do a select and just do select the current timestamp. Now, if I was to run this with that run now button, click on execute, you'll see I get the date, but I get a time including the seconds, right? So we're not actually hitting any particular table in the database or any data in the database other than just pulling out the current timestamp. So we're actually just getting SQL to do some work for us. Now, granted, we do still need to have access to SQL Server or some database, and a database in SQL Server. In this case, I'm just connecting to the in-text workflow database, and I'll also need some credentials to be able to do that. So ideally, if you wanted to expose this sort of functionality to all your users, rather than actually giving them access to a proper connection string and permissions to database, make a user-defined action where you can wrap all this up, and it will and they can just simply use that user-defined action. If you're not sure what a user-defined action is, have a look on my site. There's a whole bunch of examples, and there's also an actual post about what they are and where to use them and how to use them. So that's great. So in here, I'll let you know, make sure when you're using connection strings or credentials, create yourself a constant, an in-text workflow constant. Don't type this stuff in. If they change, then it's going to break your workflow. You can simply, if they do change, you can simply update the workflow constant, and everything should be good from there on. Now that's that action. So that will give us the current date and time, including the seconds part of it. Then what we want to do is, in the case where you actually want to extract the seconds, now we want to do something special. So we can use a regular expression action. Now I have a post about extracting data from within a text string. This is basically using that. So here's a simple regular expression pattern, even though it looks a little bit complicated. But basically what this is saying is, I want to look for a colon, and then the colon needs to be followed by one or more numeric digits, and then it finally needs to end with a space, and then this is basically saying it's going to be followed by an AM or a PM in uppercase or lowercase. Now what this is also doing is actually extracting just the digits from within these two things. So the digits that are available between the colon and the space AM, PM. And you can see if we look at the workflow history, there's my colon right there. That's from coming back from my execute SQL action, followed by a space character and an AM. and I just need to pull out those 2 digits there. So that's what that's going to do. So really, even though this says 1 or more, I can simply just do 2. That would work as well. Now the thing is with the extract part of the regular expression action is that it will store the results in a collection variable, regardless of how many results you get. So if you get 1 result, it'll still store it in a collection variable. And then our final action is this collection operation, and that's just pulling out that that value. So there's my collection variable. I'm doing a get. I'm using the index num index. Num index is just a variable that I created, and the default value is 0 because indexing is 0 based. So 0 is the first position in the collection, and we're storing the result in text seconds, which is another variable that we have. And finally, all we're doing is just logging that to the workflow history. So you can see when I ran this before, it was 8:09 and 8 seconds in the morning, and it pulled out the 08. If I come back here and actually run another instance of this workflow, we should get a different value. You can see that was very quick. Now you see we've got 8:17:23, and 23 is the seconds that it's pulled out. So hopefully that will help you out. This is definitely something that probably would be better off putting it into a user-defined action, and I'll see if I can put that in and make it available as a download on this blog post. If you have any questions about it, please feel free to comment at the end of this post. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.